Welcome to another unit in this Excel course. This time I'm going to talk about the Excel 3D maps and how I can use them to illustrate geographical data which changes over time. So before I actually can introduce the 3D maps, let me have some preliminary words on how to process your data. Well, as you see here, I have basically three variables. The first one contains the geographical locations. This could also be like latitude or longitude, and then you use those coordinates. Here I use the names of corresponding cities. So if you use names of cities or countries, best use the English version, independent of which language you originally have in your Excel. Then the more important part, the date column needs to be formatted as a date. And when I say date, I actually mean date. So if I go to format cells, I have to go to date. I cannot use a custom format, which is basically the same as date, while Excel would consider this as date in the context of the table here, would consider this as any type of date, but for some unknown reasons, the 3D maps are programmed that they only accept dates which are formatted as date or as time. So you have to assure this. So that's the reason why here it says 1st January of the corresponding year, because the date format does not allow, again, for unknown reasons, to only report the years. So that's why this looks so strange. That's more of the peculiarities of Excel. Okay, once we've proceeded to prepared our data set to look like this. So for one variable, the city, second variable, the values, third variable, the dates. Then we need to transform this into a table. Here, that's important. The date variable needs to be formatted as a date before it's transformed into a table. If it's transformed afterwards, well, the table recognizes that's a date, but 3D Maps does not. So that's actually something which screws up your analysis really fast if you don't take care about the date column. Okay, so once we prepared this, we can go to Insert, and then to the right of charts, we have 3D maps. Once we click here, he opens the Bing maps, and in some cases already realizes the locations and add them to the location part. So here we see that's actually our 5 locations. Then we have 2 additional fields which might be of interest for us. The first is height. Here we can add our values. I will delete the legend for a moment. We don't need this here. I'm only using one data series. However, I could add additional ones. And then we have the time field. So if I click here, I see my date. And it also adds down here some kind of timeline. So if I click this, it's basically moving through the different years, and you see the changes happening here in the corresponding graph. Okay, in this context, they're always increasing. This is due to the fact we have here, so we used stacked columns. I could also use like bubbles or heat maps. Let's try the same thing with the heat maps. And you see the same effect happening here. So they're always stacking on each other. Same thing goes for bubble sizes, where the bubbles will always increase over time. Well, if I just go back to my data here, I see I've for Cologne 10, 12, 22, 24, and only here 15, 21. So they are actually not increasing. So what he actually does is stacking them one over another. Okay, but still I can use this to get a good impression, and I can also move this cursor to see the values for the corresponding years. So, and as I already mentioned, I have different opportunities here. I can either use stacked columns, different colors next to each other. That's only the case if I use more than one variable with the height here. I can use simply bubbles like this, having different sizes here in the different contexts. Or I can use heat maps, the development of heat maps. So the idea is he stacks them always one over another. So takes a look how this actually develops, increases over time. And well, okay, I forgot here I also have some other parts, but well, as you see, with the data I provided, this does not yet work. So for me, only the first 4 are available. Okay, so this is basically the main workaround with the 3D maps. I can then additionally, which is particularly makes sense when I work with stacks like this, move this. So I can turn this around, move it like this. I can zoom in, zoom out. So I present this in a fashion which actually makes the most sense for me. And well, I can add down here filters to what actually being displayed. Also, with regard to the date variable, I could select here, for example, all of this happening on monthly, quarterly, yearly basis. So that's basically all I wanted to talk about in the context here of using 3D maps. While 3D maps is even more complex, as you can see here, I can build a whole tour and create a video out of this tour. At this point, my main objective was just to show you how can I illustrate geographical data which changes over time. And that's already achieved in this short unit. So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see additional insights on Excel, on illustrations on Excel, feel free to visit the rest of this course or have a look at the corresponding playlist. I say goodbye and see you next time.